The recording. Welcome to Conscious Nation Radio. I'm your host, Aparna, and I'm excited to have here with me a very seasoned coach and consultant. Welcome to June Kress. June, welcome.
Thank you.
So I know you've been coaching for the last 3 years, and you graduated from the Georgetown coaching program. And before that, you were a consultant and you've been on many boards. So you've had lots of great roles. I would love to get your thoughts on what's happening right now with leaders and what's happening in the marketplace. I know a lot of people express concerns about leading in these times. What are some of the things we need to be aware of? What's happening?
Well, I would say that for the folks that I work with, both consulting and coaching, the challenges are on so many different levels. The challenges of now working remotely, which isn't something people, are used to doing, and trying to get everybody on your team or in your company on the same page technologically. Some people had no idea, they'd never even heard of Zoom and other platforms. That's one very concrete challenge. Also, trying to figure out how to connect with people. There's no such thing anymore as the water cooler conversation, right? There is no
right. There's nothing at the coffee table or the coffee. So what do you think do you think people are ever going to want to go back to the office? I mean, everybody's been saying how effective they've been not having to drive and, not having to kind of just wear their sweatpants and log on to Zoom. I know socially it makes us a little disconnected, but it also helps us save a lot of time. So do you think we're ever going to want to go back to the office?
I think that's the $64,000 question. For nonprofits, it saves an enormous amount of money. I mean, people are paying rent now, right, to keep their offices. But can you imagine if everybody started working virtually?
Yeah.
The money saved on rent. I mean, I have no idea what that would do to the economy. But these are the kinds of challenges that people are facing. How to go back? Do you go back? It's like what parents are talking about in terms of school. Do you go back partly? Do you go back virtually, et cetera? So I think these are the kinds of questions that leaders are absolutely grappling with.
I'm glad they are, because I think this is the time when we're shifting as a whole, another way of being. And so there are a lot of positive things that we get from working from home, including things like being able to focus on other things, being able to avoid all that emission that's happening with people running around on the roads, saving enough time to be able to go on walks and work out a little bit more. So I do think, and people are cooking at home. So there are a lot of benefits as a human being that we get as a result of this new paradigm of working.
But there are also other challenges, like people with kids, right, are trying to divide their time between working with their kids around school stuff, or if they have older kids who have moved back home, it's like managing all that while at the same time working. And so that's the challenging part of working from home. And also, human relations,
Right.
dealing with close quarters for many, many people. So,
and that's what I was going to bring up, was this whole thing around social distancing. And people are really, I know that I get a lot of calls about people feeling like they're getting really isolated now. So that's starting to set in, because we're almost going on 6 months of this way of being, or a little less, but it will be 6 months. And, people are feeling a lot more isolated from each other. And that's been a real concern. And I know that from a management standpoint, that's a challenge, because employees' morale tends to go down when they feel like they're not collaborating and communicating.
Exactly. And, I often will ask people, well, when was the last time you picked up the phone and called somebody on your team?
That's what I say. Yeah.
To reconnect in a, not to talk about work necessarily, but what's going on? How are you doing? and really listening to what people tell you. I think the other really significant challenge for all of us, all the folks that I work with, is this level of uncertainty. And you can't even articulate, what does that mean? It's like, how long is this going to go on for? And the uncertainty is, I think, one of the biggest challenges, and how you manage that for your company or your team, and how you manage uncertainty for your own self. So I work with clients we breathe together, taking deep breaths, close your eyes, sit still for a minute, and really try and relax. And that has a way of bringing people, it's called centering. And if you do that several times a day, it's enormously helpful because, the stress is very, very real. So centering oneself and realizing that you can slow your heart rate down that way, and you can just calm yourself down, which is very helpful.
Yeah, and I am a teacher of meditation and breathing, and I actually work with corporate clients on that. So I know that it was always important to me, and it's been on an upward trend, but now more than ever, it's really important for people to really be able to sit with themselves and just kind of center and stay calm, stay grounded, and really create a presence of wholeness and well-being within themselves. So that's always been the case, but now more than ever, we need it. And I'm glad now it's become more of a pull rather than a push.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the other thing that I talk about a lot with clients is concrete ways that they're responding to all of the challenges that we were just talking about. How are you approaching the challenges? Do you have a sense of urgency? To not have a sense of urgency means, you don't make decisions and then you wind up being behind the eight ball. So having a sense of urgency, using what information you have at the moment to make a decision. And I think the best example, the best role model we all have is Dr. Anthony Fauci, who's made a lot of decisions, given a lot of advice based on what he knows at the moment. And then when things change, he changes the advice. And I think, so not wasting time and having a real sense of urgency. I also talk to clients a lot about how are you communicating? Are you being clear and honest and, leading with emotion, being compassionate? I mean, some terrible things are happening to a lot of people. And, you hope that I hope that my clients are really responding, leading with emotion. Emotion is not a bad thing. And also having a sense of hopefulness as opposed to hopelessness. Hopefulness goes a long way, and communicating that we're all in this together. And it's not a sugary platitude. It's very real. We're all in it together, and we all have to work for the common good, for the greater good. And people will, line up behind you as a leader.
Yeah, and that's the good thing, I think. And, emotions, as you mentioned earlier, is something that we never really wanted to bring into the workplace. It's coming in a little by little, emotional intelligence and those kinds of things. But it's front and center. So it is really important for us to recognize emotion and as a guidance, especially for a leader. Because once you set that platform and express your emotions, you also set the platform and make it safe for others to do the same. So it's
I couldn't
really
agree with
important.
you more. Yeah.
Um,
Great leaders are not afraid to be candid, but also to use emotion when, they feel a sense of incredible sadness or elation about something. I think the other thing that we talk about a lot, I talk a lot with my clients about, is the whole sense of course correction, without blaming others, without being defensive. So, you made some decisions and now things have changed and you got to, go back and figure out what's our next step. And, not blaming people, not pointing fingers is really important. So listening and acknowledging and really listening to what people are saying will help to move the needle forward. and you and your team can become great problem solvers. But you got to be willing to, admit that it wasn't a good decision. So now what are we going to do about it?
Yeah, owning the responsibility. And I guess, it's funny because all of these things that we should be doing have like come into at the forefront. So we have to do some of these things to stay afloat and also to really thrive at this time, because it's not just about surviving anymore. It's about thriving this way, because we may be in this kind of current way of operating for an extended period of time. We don't know how long.
Exactly.
So I know I've had to shift where I thought I was making a plan for 3 to 4 months. And then after 4 months, I started feeling kind of isolated because I thought, okay, this was just supposed to be for 4 months and now it's extended. So there are a lot of great tools out there. What are some tools that you suggest? One tool that you can suggest that every leader do as either a practice or at either a personal level or with their team?
Well, I'm a big believer in continuing education, and I have some very favorite books that I like to recommend. I also rely heavily on the Harvard Business Review,
Mm-hmm.
HBR, which is fantastic because these are short pieces. I look for stuff. I send it to my clients. Um, One of my favorite tools is to talk about making clear requests, and it comes from a book. Um, it's by Chalmers Brothers and Vinay Kumar. It's called Language and the Pursuit of Leadership Excellence. And one of the lessons in the book is the importance of making clear requests, which is such a gift for leaders and the people that work for them. It's the difference between saying to someone, oh, by the way, when you get a moment, would you take a look at that report and let me know what you think, period. That's not a clear request. And then you go back to your office and you start to worry, oh my God, are they going to get it to me on time? Well, you didn't even give them a deadline. You
Yeah.
didn't say what you need. What the organization needs is for you to review this report. Let's meet midway through the week, put together an outline, we'll go over it, and then you can write it up. And I want your recommendations about what you think, how you think we should respond to this report. And I'd like to get this completely done by such and such a date. Then it's clear. You've agreed upon a deadline, you've agreed upon the methodology. This is not micromanaging. This is making a clear request. And like I said, it is such a gift because people know what's expected of them and they will rise to the challenge because people want to please. They want to do the right thing.
Yeah, and and this, amen to that, because clear request is something that we need to do, not just in our work relationships, but even in our personal relationships. And it's one of the best ways to kind of have that healthy relationship with anybody, with management at work, and especially right now, because sometimes when we're on Zoom and if you're elusive or if you're not quite clear, it's very easy for things to kind of fall off. So right now, more than ever, the communication style and also all the communication techniques that we've learned over time, making clear requests, articulating openly, freely, and more frequently, having an
Yeah.
open communication style, all those things are so important. So June, thank you so much for sharing your time and your gifts and your talents. What is the best way to get a hold of you?
Let me mention my website. It's www.junekressconsulting, all one word, that's my name, junekressconsulting.com. And people will be able to read about my approach to coaching and to consulting and a page about my background, my experience and expertise.
Thank you so much, June. Thanks for coming on board to Conscious Nation
Thank you.
Radio. We really look forward to having you in the future, especially around certain topics. So thank you. And I'm your host. I'm going to sign off. This is Aparna.